So I tend to do a lot of reaction videos, focusing on those like Scott Ritter and the Duran and Jackson Hinkle and McGregor and folks like that, just to give equal time to what kind of nonsense I believe that they're putting out. Now, I could be wrong, but I think they are. And so here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to look at a Jimmy Dore show. Now, I've not done that before, but I have watched some of it. And here we have Republicans for Ukraine commercial pushes endless war. Now, these guys are going to be more populist, I guess, is a way that I would phrase this. They're certainly not conservative in the way that, for example, they're castigating Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol is a conservative's conservative. And so let's look at this and just see what they have to say. I will be kind to them. I'm not going to say, hey, he's a jerk or see how stupid he is, but I will give equal time to some things that they have to say, and we'll just watch this together. Let's hear what they have to say.
All last week, Kurt, we hit it really hard. Zelensky was coming to town. I made sure I loaded the
By the way, this isn't Jimmy. This is somebody filling in for him, and he and his co-host will be just talking through all these things.
With a lot of stories about Zelensky because I still am trying to figure out what we need to do here, right? I played this war machine video from my friend who spent a lot of time on it, and he had Eisenhower in the beginning and at the end. And at the very end of the clip, Eisenhower said, only a very well-informed citizenry, right, population of people can help, fight back against this military-industrial complex. I'm still kind of wondering and thinking what we have to do at this point because I think it's just getting out of line. I mean, there's a lot of people who say that the people who are running this country are satanic in a murder-death cult. I don't know if you want to say they're satanic, but they are crazy.
Well, there was that one.
Okay, so let's stop there. We're talking about the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower was talking about, and that's our focus, or a satanic murder-death cult. I'm not sure that I'm quite on the same page as... no, I am sure that I'm not on the same page as these guys.
I don't know, 20-year-long Satan devil sacrifice we did in the Middle East.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. And they keep pushing us into these wars. They keep on thrusting us into these wars. And they're saying, well,
So, again, the assumption here is that it's our leaders pushing us into wars rather than that there are bad actors on the world stage that are causing bad things to happen. And in this case, that we're coming to the aid of Ukraine, who's being attacked by their neighbor. But no, it's our leaders causing this.
It wasn't Americans that died. It was Ukrainians. We'll get into that.
Hey, I want Trump to make Satan great again.
Sorry. Here's from antiwar.com, our friend Dave DeCampo. But the Republicans for Ukraine ad says Ukraine war is good because it weakens Russia.
Does it?
And the ad campaign was launched by Defending Democracy Together, a group led by neoconservative Bill Kristol,
a.k.a. the rightest man about the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah, I know, right? He was wrong about everything. And if you haven't seen the Scott Horton-Bill Kristol debate, guys, go watch it. Bill Kristol is sweating the whole time as Scott Horton's just tearing up apart, sipping on a Dr. Pepper.
How is he and also David Frum, how do they just pop up like on Bill Maher still?
Still, to this day. To this day.
Okay, so Bill Kristol, if you aren't familiar with Bill Kristol, he's a conservative's conservative. He was the original Never Trumper. His father, Irving Kristol, literally wrote the book on conservatism.
No matter how wrong they got it, the guy should be locked up for good. Still on. Let's read this here.
Wait, you should lock him up because he was wrong in his prediction? What are you talking about?
New group formed to rally the GOP support for Ukraine released an ad this weekend that said U.S. spending on the war in Ukraine is good for the U.S. because it weakens Russia. The ad was...
Weakens Russia, who's attacking their democratic neighbor. And clearly Ukraine's a victim and Russia's the aggressor. So, yeah, that's good.
By Republicans for Ukraine, a campaign launched by Defending Democracy Together, an organization led by neoconservative Bing, 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 Bill Kristol.
How do neocons still exist and show their faces
Well, now they are.
Hi, I'm a neocon. I guess you would call me that. I'm a conservative. I'm a Reagan conservative. I'm a lifelong conservative. I've always been a conservative. I'm not the Trump populist that is going wherever. I don't know where these Republicans are going or why they're latching on to pro-Russian talking points, but I'm the kind of conservative that existed before Trump and I'll be here after. So yes, we do still exist.
They're in the form of Democrats. Because
Aren't those
let me
neo-
tell you
No,
something.
no. We're not Democrats. Now, we might look the same on this particular issue, but that's because on this foreign policy issue, we can find common ground because Russia's the aggressor, Ukraine's the victim. And we see that, and we want that to stop.
Last time
I know
Zelensky
it's-
came a year ago, and this
yeah.
is with the video we did, the War Machine, we based it around there. He was able to come to Congress and speak. Who controlled Congress there? Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. This time he came, he didn't speak at Congress, Kurt. You know why?
Why?
Because Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans controlled it, and Kevin McCarthy wouldn't dare allow him to speak while he has an uprising of people like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Well, that's
Chip
dumb.
Roy.
That was really stupid.
He's like,
I would hardly call it an uprising, but there is a vocal minority in the Republican Party that is against supporting Ukraine. But there's a large overall majority between Democrats and the other half of Republicans who are for Ukraine. So I don't know what he's getting at. He could just have easily have done that. It was a lower key event. I'm not sure why this is a big story.
there's no chance Zelensky's going to speak this time. And
Well,
that's
can I tell you
the
something?
Republicans.
Craig,
the Republicans.
if he had let Zelensky speak, Matt Gaetz and him wouldn't have fought because they would be in awe of the majesty of Zelensky and the struggle of the Ukrainian people. Sean Penn is right.
Well, let's see. Listen to this. The effort comes as a support for arming Ukraine and the waning among GOP voters, with a recent CNN poll finding 71% of Republicans were against Congress authorizing more Ukraine.
Yeah, I haven't seen this poll, but there are multiple polls, and it could be ticking up. It'll tick back down the other direction as soon as there's some tangible results in a counteroffensive. But okay, yeah, there is a far lower support amongst Republicans than amongst Democrats.
Aid.
What happened to Republic?
Listen,
Yeah,
What happened to them?
That's my question. What happened to Republicans? Like, I asked myself, what would Ronald Reagan do? And it was crystal clear: support Ukraine against Russian aggression. But what happened to Republicans? When did Russians become the good guys?
He used
used
to
to be
give
all
money
on for war.
They used to go along with any of the most dipshit wars you could throw at them.
Look,
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, listen. I think that there is this kind of like libertarian mentality from some of the Republicans who came in there who are sick and
Ew.
tired of seeing us waste money and resources fighting other wars for other people rather than taking care of the problems we have here at
And
home.
I'm sick of them kissing Russia's ass.
Well, listen to this video over here because this is kind of genius because they took Nikki Haley's game plan of talking about we got to defeat Russia because it's tied to
Well,
China.
she's
Watch
slick.
this. Well, dude, it's
She's
genius.
in her prime.
Maybe she got it from Bill Crystal.
When America arms Ukraine, we get a lot for a little. Putin is an enemy of America. We've used 5% of our defense budget to arm.
Everything so far, right? I'll play it again. I'm sorry.
Wait, everything so far. I agree with everything so far. There is a huge return for very little spending. No Americans were actually killed here. The Ukraine, it's not like, so the Russian narrative is that the West is just holding Zelensky as a puppet. No, it's not that. He's asking for arms and ammunition, and we're supplying that so that he can defend his country. Like, I'm not sure what the problem is.
The 5%. Here we go.
When America arms Ukraine, we get a lot for a little. Putin is an enemy of America. We've used 5% of our defense budget to arm Ukraine, and with it, they've destroyed 50% of Putin's army.
Why?
They've done all this by sending weapons from storage, not our troops. The more Ukraine weakens Russia, the more it also weakens Russia's closest ally, China. America needs to stand strong against.
So that last point was really interesting. It does weaken China, or at least curb China's potential tendency to go after Taiwan. So if you're trying to prevent a war where China is trying to take Taiwan and that triggers a World War III, stopping Putin in Ukraine actually will have a chilling effect on Xi's ambitions.
Against our enemies. That's why Republicans in Congress must continue to support Ukraine.
Who made this?
Republicans for Ukraine. That's the Bill Kristol.
I agree fully with that ad. I think that's exactly spot on.
Is that Nikki? Oh, Bill, that's
It's Bill Kristol's group, but I think
I'm gonna
Nikki
call him
Haley's on the
Crystal
same.
Bill, like Crystal Ball. Crystal Bill?
Look, can I tell you something, Kurt? They should get an A for at least knowing their audience, understanding that Russia is tied to China, like that. You know what I'm saying? They're getting that group.
The biggest shit brains in the world.
It's only 5% of the defense spending, Kurt. And when we do some more analyzation, it's only 3.5%.
Okay, do you know how,
buddy?
Do you know how like demented and far, how low to even refer to any places, other places as shithole after that ad was made? Okay, like the most positive thing you could say about it, it's still one of the shitty. We're only using 5% of our budget to get, like, there's nothing good in that.
Yeah. Well, it's only 5%.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So, I'm going to stop with this. I'm not going to proceed and make you endure the rest of the Jimmy Dore show, but this is where a lot of commentators are. And it's not necessarily where all conservatives are or all Republicans are. The conservative wing is largely supporting that commercial. It's the populist wing, the Trumpian populist wing, that are the ones that are criticizing that, or maybe even some libertarians are in that kind of mix as well. But it's just, I agreed with everything in the commercial. I disagree with these guys radically, and most of my conservative friends would disagree with these guys as well. So I want to encourage you with that. So I just wanted to present that so that you could see some of the conflict, the intramural fighting within the Republican Party. It's not all Republicans are pro-Russia or anti-Ukraine. There's quite a bit that are still very much supporting everything you saw in that commercial. All right. Tell me what you thought. I'm glad to hear and process and think through this with you. If you are a Jimmy Dore supporter or a Jimmy Dore fan, I'd like to hear what you think particularly. And if you're looking for equal time about how to see things from outside that perspective and just try to process it through somebody. And again, I wasn't mean to these guys. I was trying to be fair to them, but still, like, I just see things differently. Subscribe to this channel and you'll see things from a pro-Ukraine perspective. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.